Hello and welcome back to the RE Deep Dive on Dueling Dragon Gaming. For the whole month of October, I'm consuming as much Resident Evil content as I can throughout the month. Today we start our game journey with the original Resident Evil. Today in particular, I'll be playing the HD remaster on PS4. Let's get started. This is such an important part of gaming history that I was thrilled to finally play it and experience it on my own. I had avoided it for so long thinking that it wasn't really my type of game, but I've been in a big kick lately of trying new games and types of games that I normally wouldn't have picked up, and Resident Evil was one of the most major ones on my list, which is why I'm here consuming as much of its content as I possibly can. So what did I think of the first game? I definitely see why this game is as applauded as it is, and why it has spawned such a large franchise and fan base, especially for the time it came out. This game is super different than anything I've ever played before, which gives it a very distinct identity from even its more modern counterparts. For my playthrough, I chose to play the Jill storyline. I intend to eventually go back and play as Chris, but for the sake of this video, I will be covering my time playing as Jill Valentine. The mansion was just big enough to still have winding and spanning rooms and hallways, but just small enough that as you continue onto the story and have to double back, you start to learn the layout and slowly but surely become more confident in where you're going and find yourself at the map less and less. I really like this sense of progression, and the same applies to the residents in the lab, although on a different scale. Speaking of the mansion, this setting does an amazing job at setting the tone, and although I have a similar problem with this game than I did with Zero in that so much of the actual objects of interest blend super well into the background, at least in this game, it's slightly better because the objects are better highlighted, so it's more obvious. Still though, this is a nitpick rather than an actual critique. More something to get used to than anything. In terms of the gameplay, the puzzles here can be a tad tedious, but honestly nothing is that bad overall. At first I didn't think I liked the way of progression or the way the puzzles went, but as I played more of the game I warmed up to it. I won't say it's my favorite gameplay style, but I understand the appeal to people who are more into this kind of thing. Beyond the puzzles, I was happy to see that the HD remaster had the option to turn off tank controls, which increased my enjoyment of this game tenfold. Like yes, I understand that the limitations of tank controls added to this suspense in many ways, but I always feel like I'm fighting tank controls more than anything. So I was happy there was an option to have 360 control in this one, because it made the constant backtracking far more tolerable when having to move around the mansion. The overall graphics of this HD remaster are stunning. But even playing the GameCube release and looking at the original PS1 game, this game has aged incredibly well. There's still a ton of polish here no matter what version of the game you play. It was a treat roaming around the mansion and seeing what types of new rooms we're going to see, from the grim and dark outdoor sections like the balconies in the graveyard to the Victorian era furnishing and style of the main rooms in the mansion. The one thing I don't feel like this game was very strong at were the scares. There's a couple of good ambient scares such as doors jiggling to random noises and the windows breaking in the background, but the overall scares were just not as strong as I was expecting. The isolating nature of the game mixed with the ambient score goes a long way by itself, but the overall horror aspect of this game was a little weaker than I expected, but that's simply an opinion. I'm happy to finally have tried the original game that started it all, especially being able to do so with a lot of modern sensibilities on the HD remaster. I'm excited to see even more of this franchise as we keep going, as the world and characters introduced in this game are super interesting, and I'm intrigued to see where we go from here. What do you think of the original Resident Evil? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe while you're down there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.